Hello, good evening, this is Diecast Looney. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to another episode of Movie Car Mania. And this week I thought I'd just take a look, or I thought I'd show some of my favourite 80s movie cars. So we're going to be looking at about 4 different pieces, and I expect you've all seen them before at some point in time. But anyway, this whole idea of Wednesday night movie car mania is just because of my love for movie cars. At one point in time I almost did an all movie car diecast channel before I did what I'm doing now, but as much as I love movie cars, I'm glad I didn't, because it would only be about movie cars, and obviously I do like showing some of the other stuff I show. But anyway, with that, we'll get straight into it, and we'll take a look at the first piece of first movie car, should I say. So anyway, we'll get straight into it. So let's get the camera down in usual fashion and tip it forward slightly. And my camera has been mucking around, so if it blurs out a little bit, I do apologise. So anyway, the first piece is the 1973 Ford Falcon XB, or better known as the car from the Mad Max film. And as I've said before many times, when Greenlight get it right, they get it right. I've had this model for a couple of years now. It's not the first movie car model I ever bought, but it was near to when I first started collecting seriously. It was one of the things when I knew existed, I very quickly acquired. But for such a small car, they have got most of the details, or a good chunk of the details, right. So obviously this one's portraying the car from the film 1. As far as I'm aware of, Greenlight doesn't do the car number 2 yet, unfortunately. They're the ones where the back's got the big extra fuel tanks and everything like that. I wouldn't mind at one point maybe getting another one of these and actually trying to make a custom to try and make it into the car from film 2. But anyway, back to this car. So it is nicely done. You have got lens lights on the front. It has got the blower motor. And I've also noticed that some of the cars, other people that have shown this particular model, you get some that has the writing on the tyres, and there's some that haven't, which is quite strange. So I have seen other people with the same car but without the writing. I know it's not a big deal, but I do prefer it with the writing on. But anyway, so the actual film over here in the UK, I believe Mad Max, the original film, came out in about I think it was the 8th of November 1979 is when the film was first shown over here in the UK. But I didn't see the film myself until about the sort of early to mid 80s, and then obviously they made 2 more movies, and then obviously now they've made another one. Not now, but they've obviously made another movie, and I think I got a funny feeling I think they're working on another movie, so I'm not quite sure on that, but I know they've definitely made. You've got the 3 original, and then you've got, I think it's Fury Road with Tom Hardy as Mad Max. But in my opinion, you can't beat the first 3 with Mel Gibson. So anyway, so that is the Ford Falcon. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. So anyway, so that is the first piece, and like I said, used to love that film when I was a kid. The second car we're going to show is the Ecto 1 from the first Ghostbusters. And this, if I remember rightly, came out in the UK on the 7th of December 1984 over here in the UK. And I just fell in love with the car straight away. You know, that is a thing with a lot of the movie cars. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm a big movie fan, but it's always the cars. And this is from Johnny Lightning. And again, Johnny Lightning, even though the scale is quite small, because this would be huge, even in 1/64 scale, it would probably be about there. It'd be quite, you know, these were massive cars. But even though the scale was off, it's still very nicely done. You got that, I think that's where the horn was, or that weird noise it made. I think that's where that came from. But it is very nicely done, all lensed. And the car that it was based on, I knew it was a 59 Cadillac, but the actual whole name for it, I don't know if I can pronounce it, was the 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor Sentinel Ambulance. That is the full name. Got the same fins and the same front end as the normal sort of Cadillac Eldorados and all that good stuff, but the actual body was built by these coach builders, and I think the coach builders were Miller Meteors, I think. I'm not quite sure, but I remember seeing once upon a time, I looked it up, you know, what was this type of Cadillac other than a 59, and it's made by, it just said the name was a 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor Sentinel Ambulance. So, bit of a mouthful. But anyway, so that is from the Ghostbusters, and no point really going on about the Ghostbusters too much, as we all know. And as we all know, they did make, I believe there was 2 films to start with, and then they made a 3rd film, which had the all female cast, which I didn't mind, but for some reason it wasn't overly popular. And I think that a lot of that is because it was like a reboot, and I think if they'd made it where the Ghostbusters had actually been, you know, more to like the original Ghostbusters, if they'd been featured in it, I think it would have took off better. But because they only had cameo roles, I think the die-hard Ghostbuster fans didn't like that. And then obviously they've done that recent-ish movie, which I think is Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I think came out in 2020, I think, or 2021 now, I can't remember, because it got put back a year because of COVID, and I haven't got a car for that yet. But so obviously we can't not show Ecto 2, so that's Ghostbusters 1A, and this is Ghostbusters, hang on 2 seconds, sorry about that, I was being shouted. Anyway, so as I was saying, this is Ghostbusters Ecto 1A, and this is probably my favourite version. I don't know why, but again, from Johnny Lightning. It's got the dog dish hubcapped wheels. I think it says "We believe you" and the number to call us, which if I get a bit of extra zoom on, you can see. But again, they really did do a good job, as you can see. And when I had the chance to order this, you could get this with smoked glass or clear glass, and I actually opted for the clear glass, so you could see in the car a bit better. Now, when they made this, as far as I'm aware of, Ecto 1 was a different car to Ecto 1A. I can't remember why now, but I think that was a lot of the reason why the car was slightly different. You know, I think that's what they were trying to portray. I can't remember now completely, but I'm sure I am right that Ecto 1, there's Ecto 1 and Ecto 1A wasn't made from Ecto 1. They made a completely new car, but that doesn't come across in the film. In the film, they just basically make out that they did some work to Ecto 1, but I know the filmmakers actually made Ecto 1A was a completely different car, if you get that. And then I heard somewhere that when they made the film Ghostbusters Afterlife, they actually used the car from Ghostbusters 2, which was Ecto 1A, and I think they used it as the car for Afterlife. I did hear that somewhere. So if I remember rightly, that's how it goes. The original Ghostbusters car has been restored. So they've got, I'm not quite sure who's got it, but I think the movie company has had it done up, because I remember seeing something with Dan Aykroyd going to see Ecto 1 after it had been restored, and that's where I heard that Ecto 1 was its own separate car, and then for movie 2 they made a completely new car, and then that car ended up going on to be the car in Afterlife. Bit of a mouthful. But anyway, this particular car, I think in the UK, the film came out in 1989. The first, I'm trying to think when it came out now, is it? Yeah, is that right? But anyway, very cool piece nonetheless. So let me just, sorry about this, I keep being interrupted. So yeah, so this particular film, Ghostbusters 2, came out on the 1st of December 1989. So anyway, so that is the cars from Ghostbusters, and the last piece we're going to be taking a look at, and it is from the Back to the Future movies. I think it is car number 3 or from part 3, and as you can see it's from Tomica. So let's take a closer look. I have got other Back to the Future cars here but I thought I'd show this one as this is one of my favourites. I always preferred film 3. The other 2 films are awesome, but I don't know, I just liked this particular model. But anyway, this is, like I said, this is from part 3 and very nicely done by Tomica. It is from, I believe this is from Tomica Basic. I'm just trying to see if it's got any plate detail or not. I can't tell. No, it hasn't got the plate detail, unfortunately, but it will have loads of suspension. And funnily enough, the vehicle they used, because it had to drive across deserts, and, or not deserts, but had to drive across wasteland and different things, they actually did have to have that particular DeLorean souped up with great big off-road suspension. If I remember rightly, the actual DeLorean shell was put onto a beach buggy. It's actually not a DeLorean running gear, and when I seen that on a channel, YouTube channel, once being driven, they said the person that owned the car, it's actually the worst to drive because it doesn't drive anything like a DeLorean, it just looks like one. So that is from film 3, and I think if I remember rightly, Back to the Future Part 3 came out on the 11th of July 1990. But still very, very cool. And like I said, they have done a pretty good job on it, Tomica, considering it is just the basic car. But anyway, so bit of a random video. I just fancied showing some of my favourite movie cars from the 80s. Alright, granted, that is from 1990, but the movie was from the 80s, and obviously Mad Max. So these are some of my favourite 80s movie cars. I have got many more, but obviously I didn't want the video to go on for too long. But anyway, with that, please like, share, subscribe, stay tuned for more Wednesday night movie car Mania. Got something pretty cool for next week, but obviously you have to wait and see. And stay tuned for Friday Night Custom. My custom is finished at long last, and I'm really quite happy with its way it's turned out. I wasn't at first, but I'll explain more on Friday. But anyway, with that, I'll see you all very soon. Thank you for watching. Take care.